All right, we have got the round 2 pairings posted. These people are getting started. I'm waiting for the feature match to get started here, and I've got a nice surprise for you, Jedi. Do you know what deck we're watching here?
Reanimator?
We get to watch the Reanimator deck.
Oh, that's exciting. All right, well, we know who we're spectating then. Let me make sure.
We are. We've got Drolicheck, who we're spectating here.
Oh, gosh darn it. As soon as I was gonna click them. Oh, ironically, actually, I'll tell you what.
Well, I've got
I'm
them up
gonna
here on screen while you get connected here. So, looks like Drolicheck kept this hand. Not a bad hand. They've got a Spore Folk, they've got Remembrance, they've got Seek Power, Master Cartographer, and they've got 2 power in hand.
This is gonna be interesting. Let's see how this new this new take on Reanimator plays out, and if it is viable, it's gonna be interesting to see the semi mirrors. Old Reanimator versus new Reanimator.
Absolutely. But yeah, the Reanimator decks that I've played against have Justice in there, and they're putting Vara and Azendel, and they're going big. This is more of like the Shift Reanimator deck around Uldra, which is a little different.
All right, so we're seeing a Teacher of Humility come down, but it's obviously the 1/2 Spore Folk is there to chump block to buy some time. They're going to have plenty of chump blockers in the meantime for Drolicheck because obviously that's what Reanimator does. Ooh, they decide to immediately reoccur Vishni here, putting it into Shift, immediately creating 3/2/1 elves. Even-handed Golem comes down for Arconte.
And Arconte is on the mono time even-handed Golem deck. So I mentioned that time works really well with the even deck because a lot of times best cards happen to be even, and then you also get to play the Sand Warrior, which is a 0-cost 3/3. Now you can't play this on turn 1 because it has 3-time influence, but being able to play that for free once you get to turn 3 and it being 0, which is an even number in Eternal, plays out really nice with even-handed Golem here.
So Drolicheck, it missed a power drop there. Do you merchant to try to just look in your market and hope that you draw? Do you play do you attack? Do you chump attack to engage Gust Rider to draw 2 cards? Or as Drolicheck did, they went ahead and shifting another Vishni.
Yeah, that was great. Being able to flip that Vishni into the Void and then Remembrance it to get the 3 more 2/1 Ls. Pretty nice there. But as we talked about Obelisk last game, pretty crucial Obelisk here. Something that we missed a little bit in round 1, having that Obelisk to pump these cheap units. Looking nice here for Arconte.
So Arconte decided to leave even-handed Golem alive when they had the ability to take it out. What do you think about that?
That's a good question. I don't. They've got to know that there's no way for Arconte to recur it from the Void, so I'm not sure exactly why they would do that. And for some reason they want the elves alive, but not sure. As we say in chat, I guess they can race a bit here, so they can start attacking with those 2/1s. And that 3/3 by itself might not hit that hard, and you've got the Vishnis coming off of Shift next turn as well, so might be able to put some pressure on and keep the race alive here with keeping those 2/1s.
I mean, it's hard to say with an Obelisk in play because of the fact that like a 2/1 gets outclassed so easily in the time deck once you have an Obelisk in play. That's essentially why you're able to play such cheap units like the Temple Scribe and the Devotee, because once Obelisk comes down, like it just upgrades your entire deck list.
Absolutely.
All right, we are seeing...
Does Drolicheck even have any way to deal with the Obelisk, or do they just have to fight through with units?
Let's see. Their market has Remembrance, Sabotage, Desecrate, Devastation Setback, and an Uldra. So at least in the market, they do not. Let me load up the list real quick just to double check. I guess they're just relying on the Dire Beast. Yeah, I'm not really... Yeah, there's no artifact or a relic hate that I can see in their deck list, so they just have to power through it. That's interesting. I guess maybe they were hoping to Sabotage if they hit all their power. Maybe that's the play. They play their Merchant, go get Sabotage, and then take it out of their hand before they're able to play it.
Yeah.
All right, so we see Nash come down, which is one of the good finishers for the mono time deck. It not only gives you a big unit, it also is a way to deal with flyers. And then finally, if it sticks around, which we'll see probably it's looking like, it will give you a 1/1 Arana with killer every turn. And of note, with Obelisk in play, those 1/1s now become
Oof,
2/2s and
do.
3 killers.
And actually, a beautiful effect there. It dealt with the Vishnis, which do have flying, and it put them on the bottom of the deck. It didn't even put them in the void for Drolly to reanimate. So those two Vishnis are gone at the bottom of the deck for the reanimator deck to not do anything with.
Yeah, kudos to Direwolf for understanding, adding cards to the meta and kind of doing a rock, paper, scissors with them, having each of the new cards have a way of dealing with some of the other ones, so none of them go uncontested. But we're seeing a Cycalis come down here, and so sneaking in 8 or 6 damage that was not anticipated, putting Drolicheck down to 6.
Yeah,
with
and stunning
Arconte
the
still at a healthy
Nash.
17.
Stunning the Nash is going to deal with the 7/7, but they're still going to get the 3/3 every turn thanks to the Obelisk, or the 2/2 that's going to be a 3/3 every turn. That's not going to permanently answer those killer effects.
Okay, so we're seeing Uldra come down, only getting 1 unit out of the board, but it is getting the Thried Dire Beast, giving Uldra Crush and lifesteal. So it will be able to tussle with the Cycalis should they choose to. It will trade, but I mean it's gonna essentially prevent 5 of that damage as well as gaining 7. They are going to take 2 from the Scribe, but I guess they would just have to attack with the Cycalis unless they have a way to dealing with it. We'll see what Arconte is up to right now. They're going through their deck, or at least playing out their hand. They may not attack here to avoid giving them the lifesteal. All right. Porcelain Mask comes down, silencing nothing in hand, but still giving all their units overwhelm. Yeah, so we're seeing what we talked about here, where they're going to attack with just the Cycalis, so they make sure that Drolic can't just block the Scribe and gate a bunch of life. All right, so Drolicheck draws a Merchant, and so what do you do here? Do you Merchant the Honor the Clause, or do you Honor the Clause first?
You're so far behind. You have to... Let's see, do they have the board wipe in the market? You said they do, right? But that's not even going to take care of everything.
No, they have a Desecrate and a Devastating Setback is their kind of mass removal, and it only takes out half the board.
It takes half the board. I mean, I still think you might have to do that, otherwise you're just dead in 2 turns. And that's probably, I assume that's what they're grabbing here. The problem is you're already falling too far behind. No, they're just going to get the Remembrance.
Yeah, I guess that was the one decision point as far as whether to go to the market or not first. Simply because of the fact that you were going to use up your power.
Yeah. And they go ahead and get the Quake Titan to deal 5 to an enemy. I wonder what they're even taking out here. Just taking out the Golem, I assume.
Yeah, sadly, because of the Obelisk being in play once again, you're seeing that the Titan can't touch. Well, Nash would be out of place anyway. It's only getting the +1/+1. It's naturally a 6/6, so I disregard that. So yeah, I guess their best bet is just to try to take out something. I'm surprised that they didn't take out either the Flyer or the Killer, but I guess getting a Killer the next turn means that
they're going to get a Killer anyway. But yeah, I mean, Drolly's in a rough shape here regardless.
Yeah, and then that being said, like even if Drolicheck just managed to come out of this, they're top decking when Arconte has 4 cards in hand.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's going to go ahead and do it. We saw the writing on the wall there. Drolicheck fell a little bit behind there. That Obelisk was pretty brutal. I think that may have been the card of the game right there. Once that Obelisk came down, every single unit was bigger than everything Drolicheck was doing. Even after getting the Reanimate going, it just wasn't enough. The units weren't big enough.
It was for sure, and that's exactly why that some people actually make arguments that that's actually the best card in the deck because of the fact that it immediately upgrades your entire board. Sometimes being all what it takes to the straw that broke the camel's back essentially in certain matchups. I think another key point in that game was when they played Nash, putting those 2 Vishnis in the bottom of Drolicheck's deck instead of back in the void, because as you saw, instead of only getting 1 unit back from the void, it would have gotten 8 units, shifting to both Vishnis, putting out 6 2/1s into the board.
Yeah, that was pretty brutal, and that Nash effect works really well against this deck specifically. I mean, Nash is a great card in a lot of matchups, but against the Reanimator deck specifically, it's brutal. All right, so here we got 2 power in this hand. We've got a Spore Folk, we've got a Vishni, Quake Titan, and Merchant. Now, not exactly the cards you want. You don't really want to play these out for 3, but Not a bad hand, I don't think.
I'm actually surprised that they ended up keeping 2 with no kind of loot effect.
Mm-hmm.
And then this deck is not running the privilege of rank that we see in most reanimator decks. So all that discard allows them to essentially still get their power plays. So kind of a risky keep in my opinion, just because they have literally no way of looting right now.
Yeah, and that Quake Titan without a way to loot it is basically just a dead card in your hand. That's as good as going to 6 with that card in your hand.
Yes, I totally agree with you. All right, so we're seeing a hard-casted Lathrai Dire Beast, which I think is fine. I mean, at the end of the day, this form of Reanimator just kind of wants you're getting double value off of your units. So, and with nothing else going on the board, you might as well.
Yeah.
I wonder if there would have been. Oh, never mind. I was gonna say they don't have the double fire to just play the 5/1 that would force a block, but
and they that's pretty
Porcelain
good.
Mask coming down for Arconte, which actually has double value here. I mean, typically silencing a unit is pretty strong, but with a bunch of value units to include a Merchant, a Titan, and then two Vishnis, they decided to silence a Vishni. How do you feel about that? Would you have gone for the Merchant or stuck to a Vishni?
That's a really good question. I think I would have gone the Merchant because they have the second Vishni. So silencing the first one, whenever a player has 2 of the same effect in hand, silencing one of them becomes so much less valuable. So if it's a close decision like that, I would go with the one that they don't have a recursive threat for, because they could just play the second Vishni and it has the same effect. So in that case, I think I would have gone for the Merchant. But they know the deck a lot better than I have. I've never played a game with this deck, so
Fair. So Arconte attacks with the Sand Warrior, and Drolicheck decides to trade it off with the Dire Beast, keeping the Merchant in play, I guess assuming that they might have a larger unit for follow-up, and rather take advantage of the fact that unit just straight up trades. They are casting Remembrance on the Quake Titan to kill a Devotee, putting Arconte short on power the best they can to stun their development, as they still missed yet another power drop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is going out okay for Drolicheck, although they really need. We saw the relic last turn, and I don't think Drolicheck has a way to beat that weapon. So at this point, this deck is not built for racing. That's not really what this deck does. But look at this board for Arconte. If they just manage to find the obelisk and put it down, I mean, I hate to say it, but the game's basically over. I don't think Drolicheck can come back from that. So I think Drolicheck has to figure out a way to get things moving a little bit before that happens, but they're also stuck on 3 power, so they don't really have a lot of options here.
They're not only stuck on 3 power, they're shy on influence requirements as well. They have Vishni to play, except they only have a single shadow influence. So literally the entire hand is stranded. So you see them attacking the trigger Onslaught, playing Remembrance to get the Gust Rider out to draw to loot 2. And so they're starting to get a little bit of action. They're starting to see some plays. They're putting Quake Titan in their void, and they're drawing some power. So let's see if Arconte got too far ahead here, or if Drolicheck's able to catch back up now that they're starting to get their engine going.
Oh, and there's the obelisk. And that's going to be really brutal for Drolicheck to come back from. Not only were they power screwed here, they also only have a Vishni left in hand against facing down. This board is already pretty bad, but it's only going to get worse. It only snowballs from here.
And even if they decide, if they're able to shift Vishni, it just makes 2/1s, which don't match up very well against a bunch of units that have Overwhelm thanks to the Porcelain Mask.
Yeah, the Overwhelm there makes it really hard for this Reanimator deck to chump block. And, we saw them shift out the Gust Rider from the Void. And while that looked good to be able to Onslaught, draw 2 cards, discard 2 cards, that was sort of an emergency move. It's not really what you want to be doing with your cards, just to be able to get an emergency Gust Rider desperation, just to get some power so you can cast your spells.
How do you feel about playing Vishni here and then remembering... Oh, never mind. They're short on power. Never mind. I was going to say remembrancing the Dire Beast to give it lifesteal at least, but...
That would be pretty good, but the 3/3 is okay on this board. I mean, it does stump the 2/2s. Well, not anymore.
Yeah. Second obelisk coming down, so even without the 8 power to give it +2/+2, it's still doing it the hard way with double obelisk. So yeah. I think the clock is ticking now for Drolicheck here.
And Sinister Design, I'd love to see that cute effect, but it's not going to happen here. Now, interesting. So one of the reasons I really like this mono time even-handed golem deck, I've seen this deck quite a bit. I've actually played with that deck a little bit, but I haven't played with it in ranked. I have played with that deck in Expedition because you know what? Almost all of the cards in that deck are legal in Expedition. You can play pretty much every card that deck has to offer. You can play the even-handed golem, you can play the obelisk, all those cards you can play in Expedition. So if anyone out there wants to play Expedition for a few more weeks before the format changes, when you still have set 1, the even-handed time deck is a pretty nice deck to run an Expedition.
Wow, hard casting an Avalanche Yeti here, not using the shift ability to stun 2 units. That really shows a level of desperation from Drolicheck, but I think Psychalis off the top is the nail in the coffin. Like I said, even having 3 2-1s in play and a 5-1, like that's just not enough help to stop this overwhelmed army.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and Drolicheck just go ahead and takes it. Yep.